Right. Well, I'm happy to be here with all of you. Does anyone want to share anything or any announcements before we begin? or does anyone have a question or a topic, suggested topic? And Seva Roop has also joined us from South Africa. Dandavat. Dandavat. Marie, you have your mic on. Do you have a topic for today?
No, I just hadn't turned it off.
Okay. Okay. Well, Rama Sarup, you had a question. It was a few months ago, but you posed it right at the end of our meeting. And so I suggested that we address it next time, but then somehow the moment never came. Do you still want to discuss that or any other relevant issue?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's all in divine timing. And I think my question was kind of, I don't know, loving like all of the ride, but I guess it lends itself to like having a matured, not just intellect, but like having actually navigated through the various forms of, whether it be Kali or Durga energy or Ganesh, and how we interact with this world and all the expressions and various moods of Krishna. Really falling in love with that without falling over, back into yourself or the lower nature, and or kind of how is that explained or understood in the lineage, and also tying into that, which was something I was actually wanting to talk about, was the role of Purushartha in the lineage, and also when the heart, as the heart opens and the intuition develops to hear and understand, how grace as it descends and the doors that are opened, I don't know how that works or the importance that it plays, or what angle that do we have on that. Jaima, thank you.
Well, it seems to me that there are several questions in that question. Yeah, I'm a bit lost. I feel like you brought up a lot of different points. So, but is there one unifying factor amongst that, or are you bringing up multiple points? Or
I'm not sure. Maybe I'm a little scattered right now as well. So.
Or can you simplify? Can you kind of simplify and or distill it, what you expressed, into like one thing? Or
sure. I'm not sure.
Well, I like what you said at the beginning about loving all of the ride, but I wasn't sure what you meant by that exactly.
Oh, I guess
did you mean the ups and the downs of our practicing lives?
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess my question when I'd asked it was, is that okay? Because sometimes the energy that I felt like that I would embody a larger range, potentially even more gross than subtle, and meeting this kind, whatever it be, with laughter and love, but sometimes fierce, and just not wanting to get mixed up in like continuing to just like snowball that and not check my intentions as I'm acting. There just tends to be kind of almost like thunderstorms of action, or in the astral or physical or whatever, things seem to be a certain way. And yeah, my question, I guess, could be how if intuitively I feel like it's, of course it's okay, but yeah, I'm not really sure. Sorry. Just navigating some traffic.
Okay. Wait, just as a pause, Leela Moy, I think this is the first time I'm meeting you. Is this the first time you're joining this meeting?
Dhanavat Devi, Dhanavat Shraddha devotees. Yes, first time that I being able to be live.
Okay, okay.
I'm usually watching the, Facebook and YouTube. I
Okay.
don't know if you remember me. I'm from Brazil, the city of Uberlândia.
From Uberlandia. Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
Last time that you came here in 2019, I think. Yes,
Okay.
I'm here from Uberlândia.
You're
Yes.
Uberlandia. Okay.
Yes.
So you know Braja Kumari.
Braja Kumari. Yes.
Okay.
Rasa Sundari.
Braja Sundari also. Yes.
Yes. Sri Hari Prabhu. Yes.
Sri Hari Prabhu. Yes. Okay. Well, welcome. We're very happy to have you with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay. So going back to our question. So you saying like essentially, how can we feel comfortable with the highs and the lows? Is that like kind of just being accepting of?
Yeah, yes, and absolutely, that's a perfect way to sum that up. And also right next to that, how to be comfortable with the highs and the lows, how to take them, and what role like self-effort, how to allow self-effort in to help guide us through that.
Okay, I see. Okay, yeah, I mean that is always an interesting point of discussion. Like, how much do we leave to divine grace, and how much do we leave to our own effort, our own endeavor? That is an interesting topic also, always, because in the practice of, this is one thing that differentiates the practice of bhakti from other Vedic paths, and that there is more emphasis on the necessity of kripa, of grace, of divine mercy. Whereas in general yoga systems, the emphasis is more on our own endeavor. That through our practices we will be able to elevate ourselves and ultimately achieve moksha, liberation. But in the practice of bhakti, and sometimes these terms avaroha and aroha, right? The descending and ascending lines of progress. Sometimes these terms are used. So yes, in the practice of bhakti, there is a lot of emphasis on mercy, and it's not so much about our own effort, endeavor, as much as it is about how much we're able to attract divine grace, how much we can make, like our Gurudev Srila Govinda Maharaj would say sometimes, we need to make our hearts fertile. We need to have fertile soil. So, we are like, or he also used the analogy of like wiring the radio. Like you set your wires properly and then you can receive the signal, right? So we are trying to make our hearts open and receptive. We're trying to attract, like a lightning rod. We're trying to attract that divine grace. So yes, that is very much emphasized in the practice of bhakti. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that we're not supposed to try at all, right? And that's where the question comes in, like how much, to what extent, what's the balance? How do we adjust ourselves? And I think, one thing to remember is that it's not that we're not supposed to try, we're not supposed to make an effort, but what we have to remember is that that isn't what it is, right? It's not like how many times you chanted your japa is what, how many rounds you chanted, that's what qualifies you. It's not that we're actually able to chant the pure name, but our chanting is our way of demonstrating that we are serious. And so there's that recognition that what I'm doing in and of itself is not the thing, right? But it's like a medium of me showing my sincerity, right? By me getting up every day and doing my spiritual practice and offering some services, you know, to the Lord, to the devotees, that's my way of that. Like, that's not actually the thing, right? But it's that I'm showing my sincerity, I'm showing my intention, right? Just like if we make a food offering, let's take the simple example. If we prepare a food offering to the Lord, then he doesn't actually need that. It's not like he needs the, you know, these are all material ingredients, right? That we've collected from the market, from the shop. He doesn't need that. But it's a medium for us to express our, and we don't even have real devotion at the moment, but it's our way of showing that we're trying. It's our way of showing that we're serious. You know, and that's what is wanted. That's what's appreciable. And that is what will attract mercy. That is what will attract grace. Our Guru Dev, you know, there's you may have heard, I know many of our friends here, they'll be familiar. There's this debate in the Ramanuja line as to what constitutes surrender, Sharanagati, right? So this is another key word, Sharanagati, surrender, right, in this discussion. But in the Ramanuja line is one of the main Vaishnava Bhakti lineages in India, and especially South India. There's a kind of a debate around this, you know, what actually constitutes Sharanagati? And there are these two examples given, the monkey example versus the cat example. And the monkey example, in the monkey expression of surrender, the monkey clasps on to the mother, right? Where the baby monkey, whereas in the cat demonstration of Sharanagati, the baby cat is carried in the mouth of its mother. So then there's this question, you know, what is surrender? You know, is it that, you know, we're just carried along, you know, with the, you know, we won't exert any effort, we won't do anything, we'll just allow ourselves to be carried by the wave, you know, is that what it is? Or like the monkey has to exert some effort to hold on. You know, there's this question. And our Gurudev, he gave a different analogy. You know? Oh, but before I tell that, maybe I'll mention that Srila Sridhar Maharshi harmonized these two ideas very nicely. And he said that in an immature state, when we are still in the conditioned state, then there will be more importance given to our own effort, right? Because we're surrounded by hostile forces, and we also have those hostile forces within ourselves, right? So we have to make an effort to assert, you know, what is in the line of bhakti, what is in the line of devotion, right? Because, you know, there's so many, we're like this, you know, we're like this collection of all these different things, right? From our karma, you know, samskaras, so many forces within the environment. There's so many things which are going to try and take us away, including our own minds, right? Then that's the most problematic amongst them all, right? Our own minds, our own material desires will try and take us away. And therefore we have to work we have to fight against our own self to some extent. So there has to be some effort, there has to be some endeavor, and we have to assert moment by moment, this is what I'm about, not that, this, not that. Because we're living in an environment which for the most part is opposing, what we're trying to do. The line of, we are living in a world of exploitation, trying to connect with the plane of dedication, right? So then there has to be a bit of a fight, there has to be a struggle. But then Srila Sridhar said, however, in the later stages, when we are in a more mature stage of development, then when we're more in tune with the Lord's will, when we don't have all that resistance within us and surrounding us, then we may live in that spirit. We are feeling, we're hearing loud and clear, the Lord's voice, that higher call, that higher will. The interference has been removed, and we can hear that higher, right? We can connect with that higher vibration in more of a seamless way. So then we may move in that spirit. Oh, whichever way the divine will takes me, I will go with that. There won't be that need to exert effort, because we're not feeling that resistance. So that was Srila Sridhar Maharaj's comment on that. And then our Guru Dev, Srila Govinda Maharaj, he gave a very nice analogy of the Leela, the pastime, when Mother Jashoda tries to tie Krishna. Many of you are familiar with this Leela, when Krishna, he's a butter thief, right? He's Makanchor. And on one occasion, he's created some trouble, and some of the neighboring ladies, they've complained to Mother Jashoda about her naughty son, Krishna. And so she has to, as a dutiful mother, she has to discipline her son. This is her inconceivable service, to discipline the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so she chases after him, she captures him, and she's going to tie him up. However, very mysteriously, we're told the rope is always 2 fingers too short. And it doesn't matter how much rope she pulls, how much she collects, it's always very strangely 2 fingers too short. And Mother Jashoda, she's exerting so much effort, her hair is coming undone, her makeup is smearing, she's sweating, and she's panting, and then finally, when she's really at her wit's end, she's really in like the last moment of despair, then Krishna allows her to bind him, out of his love, out of his affection. And then one of our acharyas, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he gave an interesting commentary on this Leela, that he said that these 2 fingers of rope which are mentioned, he said 1 finger represents the endeavor of the Jiva soul, the Jivatma, the efforts of the soul in their approach to Krishna, and their approach to God, to the divinity. And then the second finger represents the Lord's mercy, the Lord's grace upon that Jiva. So these are 2 important ingredients. These are the 2 magical ingredients required for that chemical reaction to take place. So it's not that the endeavor is valuable. It's not like a calculation in this world that 1 + 1 = 2, or I do this and I do that and I can expect a particular results. But that endeavor is a way of showing our desire, showing our sincerity, showing our dedication, and that will attract the grace of the Lord. That is what will attract the Lord's mercy. you know. But it's not a, it's not a fixed thing. And it's mentioned, there's one verse which is cited sometimes by our gurus saying that, through practices of karma, pious karma, you can expect a particular result, which is principally attainment of the heavenly planet, Swarga Loka. Through practices of gyan, knowledge, which includes, austerity, yoga practices, one can expect to attain moksha, liberation from material entanglement, from samsara. However, by practices of bhakti, there's no guarantee of anything. So it mentions, it is the most difficult in that sense, because it's not that you can do this and expect this result. No, but you're doing this and you may or may not get it because it doesn't depend on the practice. It depends on the mood, the spirit that is behind. And that is what will ultimately, and then finally, even if you have that perfect, it depends on the Lord's grace, his will, his whimsical will, when and if he will give that. So it is a tricky thing. And, and those practices, they are means of, we have to see them as means of clearing our ego. See, we have a nice comment here. From Marie, if it is God that worketh in us both to will and to do, what need is there of our working? First, God works, therefore you can work. Secondly, God works, therefore you must work. There's a similar, it's interesting, there's a Sanskrit verse which is very similar to that expression. Nice. So this is a tricky thing that can come up in our practicing lives, that we can get so focused on the actual practice, on the physical side of it, that we forget the real purpose of these practices are means of us to become cleared of our ego, So like, for example, especially in a communal environment, this is very relevant, in our exchanges with other practitioners, we may sometimes get very caught up about, this is the way you're supposed to do it, this is the way you're not supposed to do it. And in asserting that, sometimes we may invite conflict, right? We may become critical of others. We may become, disrespectful of others. Oh, you're doing it wrong, I'm doing it right. And we forget, more important instructions like humility, tolerance, respect, love, affection, harmony. We forget these overarching, more important, more significant, more essential principles essential to the practice. And so then we see, oh, actually these challenges that I'm facing, it's not about that issue actually, but it's about, like, how can I learn to better harmonize with others? How can I learn to be humble? Excuse me. How can I learn to be more humble? How can I learn to be more tolerant? How can I learn to be more respectful? That's what it's about, more than, perfectly checking every box. So I think we might have sidetracked a little bit from the original question. But yes, I mean, we are trying, and we are practicing as a way of showing our sincerity, and as a way of inviting the Lord's grace to show that we're trying, but we're not in any illusion that, what we're doing in and of itself is worth very much, necessarily, that our chanting is going to purify the universe, all these things, but we're showing our sincerity. You know, it's like also children, right? Like say they're learning the ABCs, right? And they've got their like scribbles of the alphabet. Like in and of itself, it's not very valuable, right? You know, like like in the grand scheme of things, you know, what value does these, you know, this paper of scribbles, what is it worth? Like absolutely nothing. It's not serving any purpose at all, right? However, the teacher, the parents will be very happy and they will encourage, they will applaud the child. You know, why? Because it's a stepping stone, right? This is a stepping stone. You know, and this is you have to start somewhere, right? You have to start with something. So although within a, you know, a greater context, it doesn't mean anything, you know, on the level of the individual's progress, it's very meaningful. It's wonderful. It's miraculous, right? So in the same way, our chanting in and of itself, our practices in and of themselves may not be worth very much, but in terms of our line of progress, it's a major step forward, and it's a way of us showing that we're trying, and our teachers will appreciate that, and they will encourage us in that, and that will also inspire the teachers to give us more support, to give us more guidance, give us more inspiration. So that's what comes to mind. We've had a few more join us. Ajita Krishna, Prema Sindhu, Jayadev, welcome to all of you. So Ramas Swarup, is that helpful?
Oh, yes, very. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. That's everything and more. Thank you for that perspective.
Okay. I'm so glad. And always a relevant discussion, always. And reminder, you know, always a reminder. Govindranandini, do you remember last week, or was it the week before, there was that talk, oh, maybe Chinmoy will remember too. It was in one of the recent videos that you posted of Gurudev. He mentioned about something. I was just reminded about our chanting. He was saying that you know, we cannot chant, but what was it? Do you remember, Chinmoy Prabhu? He said it in a way that I hadn't quite heard before. It was very nice.
Yeah, we're chanting with what was it? Faith and honor or something like that?
Yes, that was it. Yes, that was yes, exactly. He said we don't have devotion, he said. We are not chanting with devotion, but we are chanting with honor. And we watched this in our ladies meeting on Friday and last Friday, and I really appreciated it because, you know, Gurudev was just like making it very clear. He wasn't allowing any delusions around that, you know. And I've never heard him say it quite like that. It was very nice. You know, we are chanting with honor, you know, and that's like a realistic assessment, you know, of our situation. We're not pretending that we're on a high platform of devotion, you know, but we are chanting with honor. You know. And there's another place, I believe Srila Sridhar Maharaj mentioned, you know, we are honoring the will of our gurus, you know, we're honoring the will of the Lord. We may not have such deep faith, feel so much attachment, you know, for what we're doing, but we are honoring, you know, what has been told to us, you know. Like again, if we take the example of a student, you know, then, you know, their understanding is very limited, you know, a young student. And especially like, you know, say you're learning a musical instrument, you know, if somebody can play the violin very nicely, then it's a beautiful, magical experience to hear that, right? But when you're hearing somebody practicing, like a beginner practicing the violin, it's a very painful experience, isn't it? You know, for the person practicing and for anyone who is unfortunate enough to hear that. So but you know, that student, their faith, you know, I'm trying to learn the mridanga now, and there's one young devotee, Hari Gopal, he's my teacher, and he was in Hungary a few weeks ago at the temple there, and I was so discouraged in the beginning. So it's like I can't do anything, and he kept telling me, no, you have to keep practicing, and I was just like, I was ready to give up a few times. He was like, no, keep practicing. And so I was like blindly practicing. And then I actually started to see some improvement. Oh, there's actually something happening, you know, like, wow, like it actually works, you know. So, you know, we're honoring the instructions of our teachers, right? And they're telling us this works, you know, and we're following that, you know, and later on, then we may start to feel the magic of that. But in the beginning, it may be a dry, difficult thing. You know? Chintamani Devi's also joined us. Welcome. Does anyone else want to share any thoughts on that discussion or bring up another topic? We still have half an hour. But for those of you who aren't aware, we had Chinmoy Prabhu is taking care of this wonderful channel on YouTube and mining some wonderful gems from our Guru Dev. So highly recommend it. It's called Srila Govinda Maharaj video series. You can find it on YouTube. And there was another point that Gurudev made in that video too, which really struck me. Do you remember what it was? There was something else he said, Govinda Nadini. We were all like, wow, like, do you remember?
When he said that the name can also still have some ninda.
That's right. I was blown away. He made this point there, which I've never heard before. Chinmoy Prabhu is nodding. He remembers. He was saying how the holy name can help us even to remove an offensive mood toward other devotees. That the name will give some inspiration to our heart to try to correct ourselves, you know, to try to, you know, adjust our hearts, you know, in regards to other practitioners, other devotees. And yeah, that really blew me away. I hadn't heard that before. Because normally we hear you have to avoid a critical mentality towards others in order to be able to chant the holy name. But then somebody raised this point, no, we hear that the name will give us everything, but that also helped to remove that critical mentality that is an obstacle to chanting. And Gurudev said, yes, you know, that the chanting of the name will help to soften our heart, you know, give us that inspiration to correct ourselves. I was shocked. That struck you too, Chinmoy Prabhu. Yeah.
I don't know if it's the same class too, where he also talks about that we're doing these practices and not to expect a result. That the faith is most important, that we have faith in these practices because they're coming from Guru, and that if we continue to practice that, then eventually.
Oh, your connection is dropped, unfortunately. Oh, we've lost Chinmoy Prabhu. He's in a very funny pose too. But I think we got he's back. He's back. We lost you for about 10 seconds there.
I'm in Silicon Valley.
That's funny, huh?
But
So
I'm not sure if it was the same video, but where Gurudev also talks about that, you know, we're doing our practices, but don't expect to see a result. Our faith is more important, that we have faith in our Guru, and And with that, we will continue. And actually reminds me of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, where he would say, everyone's familiar with the phrase, no risk, no gain. But are we prepared for all risk, no gain? So, that is the type of move that we want to give everything, because that's our constitution. That's the soul's constitution. Jivera Svarup Nityadas, we're eternal servitors of the Lord, and that's what gives us inner fulfillment. So we will continue, and then what the Lord gives is his mercy.
Beautiful, beautiful. That's super relevant to what we've been discussing today. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing, Chinmay Prabhu. And welcome, Anu Krishna's joined us. A wonderful surprise from, we have a few unexpected persons joining us. Anu Krishna, who is in Arizona. Welcome. Dandavat. Very happy to see you. Yes. Anyone else have any thoughts to share? What about Seva Rupa Devi Dasi? You always have some thoughtful comments.
Happy to be here as well. And yeah, it's such great topics, and it's so relevant. It feels to me like a constant, I wouldn't say struggle, because I think in the association of devotees, it's so inspiring and you feel so light. But then as I get sucked into day to day and, trying to prioritize everything and, also catch my emotions or feelings, or especially when I'm tired and aggro, or and then that self-talk that goes, but you're supposed to be a devotee, and you're trying to practice this, and so I'm kind of there. And I think I remember making the other meeting. I don't know if it was here or a different meeting that we were in with Siyash Prabhu, that was saying, he was talking from his heart and saying that, although he's reading and chanting and he's not feeling much, but I think where I am, I'm just trying to do the chanting part. I don't even get to read and that. So and at the same time, you were saying, it's like putting in the effort, but also the surrender. So yeah, I'm a bit like wishy-washy. What can I say?
No, thank you. That was very nice and from the heart. Beautiful. Nice.
Can I share?
Yes, please, Anu Krishna.
Okay, so I missed I'm late in the meeting here, so I missed the topic of discussion, but based off of the last comment there, I can relate to that. I have these expectations of myself. I'm supposed to be a devotee, but then the life around us happens, and it's challenging to be like, okay, I have to read, I have to chant, these expectations that I hold for myself. And then I talk to my partner, because that's a struggle that I have all the time. And I talk to my partner, and they remind me that like you do devotional service without thinking about it, because even in the car you'll start talking about Krishna, and you'll start talking about pastimes, and you'll start talking about stories just like without even thinking about it. You're sharing just things that pop into your mind, and there's like it's in your heart. And even if life comes and you're really busy, and like we're in the middle of a move right now, moving to a different house, and so obviously we have very, very little time for ourselves right now. So I can relate to the last person who shared. It's just that effort that you have to put forward, and I know we all have it in our hearts, and the love and the devotion for Krishna in our hearts, and that's extremely important, and just kind of retapping into that and reminding yourself when you do have that downtime to like take a moment for your higher consciousness and that development and that peace. So I'm hoping I get to that soon.
Thank you for sharing, Anu Krishna. Beautiful. I love this. We're kind of like hearing like the, you know, the daily struggle, we're hearing about like the real stuff that we all go through every day. Because we have the high ideal, right? But then we're like way down here, you know. So, you know, I think it's nice to have a safe space where that can be acknowledged and accepted, you know. And you know, there's one place where Srila Gurudev, and it, you know, actually it was in general, it was Gurudev's mood, I feel. But he expressed that, you know, we may face different challenges and our practice may not always be so steady or so perfect at all. But he said, but we have a connection, you know, nothing will break that. We have a connection. And that, you know, as Anu Krishna is expressing, you know, that maybe your practice isn't always perfect, but, you know, as your friends observe, your partner observe, you know, you have that faith and it just naturally comes through in day-to-day moments. You know, recently I had an interesting experience. I visited some friends, and I won't say where or who to keep their privacy, but they went through some difficulties with their local community of devotees. And so they, as a result of that, they had some trauma. And generally, whenever I'm in the area in that country, I'll visit them. And this time when I was visiting, they contacted me ahead of time saying, you know, we're kind of in a place where they didn't want to do anything that was even remotely ritualistic, like sitting in a program or, you know, or just like organized chanting of any kind. Like they didn't want to do it, no. But I told them, you know, look, like you're my friends, you know, no matter what, and I know you have faith, and you know, I still want to visit you. And so I was with them for a couple of days, and you know, pretty much all the time we're talking about Gurudev, we're talking about Krishna consciousness, you know. It's just that they didn't want to do any type of formal practices, but the faith was there and the connection was there. And so it was kind of like an eye-opening experience for me. You know. So yeah, I mean, and I think they were also probably surprised, you know, by themselves, you know, like how much attachment they still have, you know, for Krishna consciousness and our gurus, you know. So yes, I mean, our value in Krishna consciousness is not defined necessarily by how well we're practicing, you know. That's the main point. I think that's coming out here. And gosh, we've got quite a few joining at the end. Charu Damodar has also joined. Welcome. Dana's joined also. And we have an anonymous stars. They're just showing symbols of stars. There's no name, but welcome.
It's Chintamani.
Oh, that's Chintamani. Okay. I should have guessed. She's very sparkly.
We are kind of guessing, right?
Yes. Ajita Krishna, you want to say something? You just turned on your mic. Okay, maybe by accident. Anyone else? Any other topics or comments?
Well, this is on the last comment. I was just remembering that a few months ago, I was in a discussion with Kumkum from, where is she? San Jose, is it? Anyway.
Yeah.
And she'd said something about, it was something along the lines of, if you can't do the most basic thing, do something even more basic. It was basically whatever effort you can do. So, you know, which goes to that, you know, you may not be getting your chanting in, but you're talking or thinking, or like it just occurs to you, or you happen to read something, and that sometimes that's the best you can do. But if that's the best you can do it.
Nice. Thanks for sharing, Marie.
And just Vishakha, just one thing about this verse. The other day we were trying to remember the second part of it, the Jivera Swarupa Roy, Krishnera Nitya Dasa, and then I went to the verse, and then it repeats Krishnera Tatashta Shakti. So now it just struck me because it has everything to do with what you said. We are at the same time Krishnera Nitya Dasa. Krishnera then repeats Tatashta Shakti, but also we are like kind of in a marginal, situated in a marginal place, and then it is at the same time we are one, and at the same time we are different. So Veda Prakash. So it encompasses so much inside it at the same time. We are babies learning how to write. At the same time, there is this potency of being Nitya Dasa. So it's beautiful. I stayed for kind of years in the first line. Now I think I reached the second line. now the form appeared a little bit more. So with this beautiful sadhu sangha we had today, wonderful sadhu sangha with all these stars, devotees here. So you melt my heart. Dandavats to you all, really.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing, Govinda Nandini. Yes, we've had a lot of heartfelt sharing today. Very nice.
And there was this star devotee here, Chintamani, but she left. She was all in stars.
Nice. Yes, we are trying, you know. Cheshta, Gurudev would use that word. You're trying. You're trying. And of course, you know, Gurudev also made the point, you know, that we don't want that to be an excuse to, you know, not be so serious, right? Or not really make it happen. Oh, wait. Okay. Someone unmuted there. Like he would say that sometimes, you know, he would speak of how the important thing is that we are trying, you know, the cheshta, that mood is there. But then once he also mentioned, you know, but, you know, we will try to make our trying perfect. We would try to make that cheshta, that perfect, you know. It's a tricky thing, you know, and this is what Ramaswarup was bringing up, right? You know, just to find that right point of balance. Because if you go too far one way, then, you know, like you just kind of become lazy and, you know, like, you know, oh, I'm going to wait till I feel it. You know, like sometimes you hear that expression, like I don't want to do it if I'm not feeling inspired, you know. But I like to give the analogy of a parent raising their children, right? That, you know, whether or not you're feeling it, you know, you still have to feed your child, right? It's not like I'm not feeling the love today, you know, so I'm just not going to do it. Oh, my baby can just starve, you know, because I'm not feeling it, you know. Oh, it doesn't work like that, you know, like we've made a commitment, you know, and so even if we're not feeling it, you know, we've made that promise, and you know, we will continue. You know, we will continue, even if we're not feeling inspired. You know, Gurudev, he gave the simple analogy once, you know, every day the sun does not shine, but we won't stop our duty because of that. You know, like, oh, I won't go to work today because it's a rainy day. It's a gloomy day. So I'll just stay under the bed covers, you know. And no, you know, whether it's sunny or whether it's rainy, cloudy, we still have to go out and do our job, right? We have to do our duty. It's a commitment. It's a promise. So, you know, there's also that side of it, right? That we will, as much as we can, right, according to our capacity, we still have that desire to try more. Even if we're not able to try more, there's that feeling with desire within us that we want to do more. Someone about to say something?
Well,
Yeah,
I
it's on
was,
Krishna too. Sorry, who else, Marie? Oh,
Yeah,
you can go first.
okay, thank you. I was just gonna say, you know, on some level, yeah, there's the desire to say, well, I'm not inspired, so I don't want to do the practice. But on the other hand, if you don't do the practice, how do you expect to be inspired? Like, the sun may not be out today, but if you don't go outside and look, you'll miss it if it's there. So there's, yeah, tricky balance is basically what we're back to, but.
Yes, absolutely. Anu Krishna, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I just wanted to share something I found interesting. So the other day I was watching a TV show, and there was a moment in this show where the son, I think he's in high school, and he, I guess, like, was going through a breakup or something. And so he's feeling the power of the mundane world and the emotions. And he's so sad and he's so distracted from really what's important in life, right? Because he's so upset and distraught over this breakup. Well, his mother kept, gently, I guess, reminding him or gently encouraging him to go pray. Different religion, different philosophy, but the concept was still similar. So the mother kept gently reminding him, like, go pray, get your mind off of this. It could kind of like adjust your compass, like your inner compass of what's really important in life and where your heart needs to lie. And in the show, the boy was a little hesitant, and then towards the end, like the closing scene, he was in his room counting on his beads, and he was praying with his beads. And so in that moment I was like, okay, well, that's kind of relevant, because like here, we get so distracted with everything and emotionally tied up with work or stress, and in that episode it's like, well, what's really important right now is that reconnection to the higher power and the reconnection to Krishna. And if we're going through a breakup, or if we're having a bad day at work, or if we're having any really stressors or distractions that are just kind of throwing us off, like, the answer could be during that service or reading or chanting and stuff. And so I saw that in this episode as I'm just casually unwinding for the day, and it just was like, wow, even my TV is telling me, okay, I gotta go chant, I gotta go have that reconnection.
Nice. That was beautiful, Anu Krishna. That was beautiful. And yes, it's true. It's so true that, and it's something I experience too. Sometimes I might feel some resistance to do a program, or whatever it may be, do some practice. But whenever you get into it, then, as you said, you find all the answers are here, and there's so much upliftment that comes from that. whatever struggle you may be going through that's uninspiring you, the answer to that will be in the practice, you know. Oh, very nice. Okay. Any final words from anyone?
Can you hear me this time?
Yes, we can hear you now. We couldn't hear you before, but yes, we can hear you.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I had some technical difficulties. Dandavats,
Dandavat.
lady. I wanted to say a class you gave or a Zoom meeting, whatever you want to call it, that you gave about a month and a half ago. You were speaking about the importance of association and how you were saying how we can take on karma from other people and stuff. You know, if we're sharing like food or sharing a space or whatever, there's some karmic exchange. And so I really was coming up against that while you were talking about it. And I didn't get to talk about it because the person was in the room. But yeah, but I wanted to say you were speaking about that right at a crucial time for me, because I had someone staying with me, and it was basically, I'm not that strong of a person, so other people can sort of pollute my consciousness pretty easily. And so association is very important for me, especially. And we read about how important it is and stuff, but I really feel it on an almost gross level. And so it took a while, but I had to get the person out of my space. It was just, you know, the conceptions he was bringing up and everything was just dragging my consciousness down to a level where I didn't want to be. It was actually sort of killing my inspiration for Krishna consciousness. I was doing less Zooms and getting more involved with the daily grind and everything. And so anyway, I just wanted to say that you really spoke to me really directly that day, and I appreciate it. And it helped motivate me to take some action and change my association for the better. So I appreciate that a lot.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that, Ajita Krishna Prabhu. That's wonderful. We're happy that we can be of service, and we're happy that you're feeling some forward movement. No, very, very happy news. Very happy news. Yes, it's all a real process. You know, it's a real process. No, Krishna consciousness can remain a theory, but if we apply these things, we will see how real they are, you know, how relevant they are, how immediate they are. So very, very happy to hear that, Prabhu. And yes, association is everything for all of us. You know, it's not only you, but we're all very vulnerable, very much affected by our association. So, and to have the courage to take action in that regard, that's not an easy thing either. So you certainly should be applauded for that. It takes we may be able to recognize that we are in bad association, but it takes some strength, some extra strength and courage to be able to take action, you know, because it's easy to kind of weakly just accept our environment. So it does take some strength to be able to go into action and to be proactive about this. So it's inspiring to hear that. And also, you know, when you start to clear away, you know, negative association, you're leaving space for higher association, you know, either to more keenly appreciate the higher association that you already have, or, you know, kind of opening the door for other more positive association to enter. So that's another thing. So very, very good news. Anyone else want to share any final thoughts, or should we close for today? Chinmoy Prabhu, any final words of wisdom?
Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev. Okay, that's a good way to close. All right. Well, it's been a really wonderful meeting, really interactive, really wonderful to hear everybody's thoughts and heart shares. So we look forward to next week. Jai Shri Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. All the assembled devotees, sincere seekers Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Kirtan Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande.
Jai Vishakha Devi ki.
Jai. Dhanavad.
Dhanyavad.
Dhanyavad.